Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. Brett Yormark says he is willing to expand the Big 12, quote, when the time is right. This is the same guy that begged practically for this look-in clause, the College Football Playoff Committee, saying, look, hey, what if expansion in a couple years means that we're more valuable than we are now? There have been the Twitter fiends who claim to have big sources that say the Big 12 is really close to poaching ACC schools or in talks, or they've been talking to a Louisville for a long time. When Brett Yormark gives the, is it a nothing burger when your commissioner says, we are going to expand when the time is right? What is that? Is it cryptic? What am I missing?
Is there a term? I guess commissioner speak would be the term. Like, what's the commissioner version of coach speak?
Right.
Like, coach, how do you feel about this upcoming season? Why don't you find me a single coach in college football this year that doesn't say something to this effect? Guys are working hard, practicing. We've been getting better. We're definitely not where we want to be right now, but we feel like we're moving in a direction that's going to allow us to succeed this year. Give me a coach whose spring comments don't in some way, shape, or form reflect that general sentiment. Yeah. I think but it doesn't mean that it's not noteworthy, because I think that for Brett Yormark, this is the right mindset to actually have, whether it's actually his mentality or not. Yeah. I mean, he might be completely content to say 16 teams, we're just going to sit. We're just going to go for, the next several years, and we have no plans to expand. We have no need to expand. We're going to feel this out. We're going to incorporate the newcomers, give teams a chance to really rise to the top of the conference. That could 100% be his mentality. He could also be thinking what he is actually saying here, which is, well, when the opportunity comes, whenever that may be, yeah, we'd be ready to expand, because no one knows when that opportunity is actually going to arise. Are Florida State and Clemson going to get out of the ACC, number one, at all, and number two, this year, next year? Because if so, then what happens? I've talked on my show many times about how I think North Carolina is the key to maintaining the ACC post FSU and Clemson. If FSU and Clemson leave, the number one phone call from Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, has to be to the president of North Carolina and say, we have a plan. We can keep this league successful. Here's what we can do. Here's how much money we got in this settlement. Here's how much we're going to give to your school to help close the revenue gap. Then your second call is to Miami, but your first call is to North Carolina. Because at some level, I don't think they would ever be in a different conference than Duke. That'd be ridiculous. Yeah. And maybe they could get out of it. Maybe they couldn't. I believe, my understanding is that there are legal ties to NC State, who could become available, but they would have to kind of finagle that situation. So, and then Wake Forest is in the state of North Carolina as well. So that's why UNC, the Tar Heels, are kind of the key to keeping the ACC going in the long run. But if you're the Big 12, you have to wait for that to play out, because if the league does stay together, I don't think there's a guarantee that others would jump ship if North Carolina stays.
For Brett Yormark, is there, let's say that the Big 12 stays as it is, these 16 teams for the next 10 years. Is this conference still alive in 10 years? Is the idea, if the conference just doesn't expand, can it live?
Yeah. No, I think it can. Can it be the best it can possibly be? That depends on how certain schools are able to perform. But if you keep the four leagues, right? If you are able to maintain the ACC without FSU and Clemson, let's say they go to the Big Ten, just as a hypothetical, which is entirely possible. Let's say they go to the Big Ten, and the Big Ten and SEC widen their stranglehold on college athletics and just put themselves in an even more powerful position to, run roughshod over everybody there. Then what you would then have is a battle for who's going to be the third conference. And if you're the Big 12, how could you not feel good about where you stand compared to the ACC without FSU and Clemson, which has got plenty of good teams and programs, to be sure. But you have to feel great about where you're at if you're the Big 12. And you wouldn't need to expand as long as the ACC doesn't expand. And who's the ACC going to add? Like South Florida, that's not changing the calculus. That's not closing the gap on the Big 12 in football. As long as you keep Louisville and Pitt, who you and I have talked about before, would probably be the top two options for the Big 12 to go and get. And then, if everyone were available, NC State, Virginia Tech would be near the top of the wish list. If you keep everybody else, then yeah, how does the Big 12 not survive? Like what school or what group of schools, frankly, would be so desirable by the Big 10 of the SEC that they'd get poached out of the Big 12? I don't think that those schools are there right now.
You're telling me Utah's not going to the Big 10 tomorrow?
I mean, they do have the exit clause, as you well know.
We got a lot of Utah fans listening right now that were really excited to don the Big 12, Big 10.
Well, I wouldn't be shocked if they left one day. I don't anticipate it happening, though.
Yeah.
Because realignment moves, like they would be paired with, Notre Dame? Because realignment moves happen in, for the large part,
at the least, yeah,
even numbers. They tend to have, like, one-offs. Notre Dame's the only one-off that you would really add. Excuse me, the ACC added SMU. But that, again, was an anomaly. Why? Because SMU just bought their way into the conference.
Right. And that makes it even in all sports but football.
Right. There's literally no downside to the ACC adding SMU because it doesn't dilute payments for everybody else. You pick up the Dallas market and you get a team, you get a university that is wildly committed to college athletics, to getting back to, what they had in the 80s or so before they got the death penalty, which gets more ridiculous by the day as college sports go by. But they have a commit. They have one of the top 5 most well-funded NIL collectives in all of college sports, because they want to be good. So there is no downside.
The death penalty thing. They got the death penalty for doing what everybody's doing today.
I don't even think the amount of money that was involved with that death penalty situation was anywhere close to the amount of money that is being doled out to kids today. I think there's a Missouri 5-star quarterback commit that was getting like a Lamborghini, or Texas kids were walking in alongside Lamborghinis. I saw that. Like, there are all these photos that fly around and you're just looking at it going, SMU got the death penalty for what exactly? Yeah. Or Reggie Bush had his Heisman taken away for what exactly? Like, what are we doing?
Dave Bliss, the awful Dave Bliss, was the SMU basketball coach at the time. And what they were doing was so heinous that Dave Bliss could move through the dark of night at SM. That's how crazy different college football was then, that the football team was so bad they trumped the awful Dave Bliss. Coming up, NC State, a Big 12 program that's created some buzz on Locked On Big 12. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. LinkedIn Talent Solutions is where I go to find my interns. And Zach, the current intern who's putting out things on Twitter, is nails, man. He's flipping good. If you see a good tweet on the Locked On Big 12 account, it's probably from Zach, because LinkedIn isn't just a job board. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. You can find your very own Zach. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Terms and conditions do apply.